It was New Year's Eve. The champagne flutes were full, the fake friends were laughing, and she, my wife, Amanda, was glowing like a queen in that silver dress. The whole room seemed to revolve around her, like it always did. And I let it. For years. But that night? That night she gave me a performance worthy of a lifetime award in cruelty. She clinked her glass against mine with a smug smile, then turned to the crowd. To new beginnings, she said, raising her flute high. To new men, more than I had this year. I'm divorcing you, Kyle. I remember the glass slipping from my fingers, hitting the marble floor, and shattering like every illusion I'd clung to for the last 3 years. Everyone laughed. Thought it was some twisted joke. But Amanda's eyes? Cold. Flat. Smirking. She had planned it. Down to the second. I didn't say a word. I just watched her sip her drink, savoring the moment like some villainess in a drama series. She thought she'd won. That I'd melt, beg, cry in front of everyone like some desperate fool. What she didn't know, what made that moment so delicious for me, was that my divorce papers had already been filed 3 days earlier. And my lawyer? A beast in court. The kind who makes opponents cry in their Teslas. Her toast was supposed to humiliate me. My paperwork was set to humiliate her. But let me back up a bit. Because you're probably wondering, how did it get to this point? What kind of woman does that? What kind of man lets it go that far? I used to believe in Amanda. Really believe in her. We met 5 years ago at a tech expo in Austin. She worked PR. I worked software. She was bold, beautiful, with a sharp tongue and legs that could distract a priest. Everyone warned me. Said she was trouble. Said she played games. But I was blind. Hell, I was proud. Proud to have her on my arm. Proud to believe I was the one man she wouldn't mess with. I was wrong. So damn wrong. 6 months before that New Year's Eve, I started noticing it. Subtle at first. She stopped laughing at my jokes. Started staying late at yoga. Came home smelling like men's cologne she swore was her coworker's new essential oil blend. You ever heard that kind of crap before? Yeah, I did too. Then there were the passwords. Changed on every device. Her phone never left her hand. Even took it into the shower. Said it was for safety. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I played it cool. But inside, something was cracking. I started checking bank statements. Uber rides she never mentioned. Charges from bars we never went to. And that one damn hotel, the Ellington. Not once. Not twice. 6 times. Same room. You know what that feels like? Watching someone carve out pieces of your trust with a smile? I hired a PI. One of those quiet guys who looked like he belonged behind a newspaper in a diner. Within a week, he had photos. Amanda, my wife, grinding on some dude in a blazer with his hand down the back of her jeans in a lounge. Then later, walking into that same Ellington suite. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just froze. It was like watching a stranger wear her face. That's when I made my move. Cleaned up my finances. Moved assets. Set up my new place by the sea under a trust in my cousin's name. My lawyer drew up the divorce papers and prepped for war. Amanda thought she'd drop a bomb on New Year's. Instead, she stepped on a mine. She had no idea that as she raised her glass and humiliated herself with that little toast, she had already lost everything. The house? Mine. The accounts? Closed. Her car? Leased under my company name. Returned. And when she tried to file her papers, those pathetic, dramatic papers, my lawyer simply pulled mine out of his folder, smiled, and said, "Ladies first, but we got here first." So while she stood there that night, tipsy and arrogant, laughing with her girlfriends about how she'd freed herself, I knew the truth. She wasn't free. She was about to drown. Because when the dust settled and the documents were finalized, she had nothing but her bags and her Instagram followers. Meanwhile, I spent New Year's Day drinking bourbon alone on my deck, waves crashing below, new keys in my pocket. The silence? Beautiful. But don't think it ended there. No, Amanda doesn't fall quietly. And what she did next? That's a whole new level of insane. The morning after the New Year's party, I woke up to 50 missed calls. Most were from Amanda. The others were from mutual friends who hadn't seen me leave the party and thought I might have driven into a tree. That's how dramatic she made it look, as if she left me broken, humiliated, discarded like a dog she grew tired of petting. I wasn't broken. I was reloading. I ignored the calls. I walked barefoot across the hardwood floor of my new beach house, watching the sunrise paint the sky like fire. I made coffee. Strong. Black. No sugar, just the way Amanda hated it. And for the first time in years, I drank it in silence. But by noon, she figured out what had happened. She showed up at my old place, now technically mine and vacant, only to find her key didn't work. Her car, the one she flaunted around town, already taken by the dealership. Her credit cards, all frozen. The joint accounts were long split. I left her a single envelope in the mailbox, a printout of her own text to Brandon, her blazer-wearing boy toy, and a sticky note. Read them slowly. It'll hurt more. She was too proud to cry. So she raged. I got the first email that afternoon. Subject, you're going to regret this. Then a second, we can talk. Then a third, you set me up, didn't you? I didn't reply. She moved to texting. Amanda, Kyle, I know I hurt you, but this is extreme. Amanda, you blindsided me. You ambushed me. Amanda, you always loved control. This isn't love. This is punishment. I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was predictable. That woman could lie with tears in her eyes and make it look like opera. And still, even when caught, she tried to twist the knife like I was the villain in her little story. Let's back up a bit, because this part matters. Amanda was never just a cheater. She was an actress. A master manipulator. She'd lie so smoothly, I doubt my own memory. A month before New Year's, I caught her humming in the kitchen. She was actually happy for once, cooking pasta at 11 p.m. in a red silk robe. Who's that for? I asked, joking. She smiled. You, dummy. That night, we watched a movie. She cuddled up to me like old times. I almost believed her. Until 2 hours later, while she was sleeping, I checked her phone, synced to the iPad. The same night she made me pasta, she sent Brandon a message. He's clueless. I even kissed him tonight. I feel disgusting. Can't wait to be in your arms instead. That's when something died inside me. Not anger. Not heartbreak. Just clarity. Amanda wasn't a woman who cheated once and made a mistake. She enjoyed it. She loved the game. The lies. The fake dinners. The secret meetups. She was addicted to the thrill of being above consequences. Until now. Now she was the one waking up alone. The one calling lawyers. The one Googling how to cancel a divorce filing you already lost. And I was watching the tide roll in, feeling lighter by the minute. But here's where it gets messy. Because when someone like Amanda loses power, they don't shrink. They explode. That evening, my cousin Jack called me. She just showed up at my office, man. What? Screaming. Crying. Said you were having a breakdown. Said you needed intervention. Tried to get into your records. Amanda had no shame. She was trying to paint me as unstable, probably to overturn the court filings. Luckily, Jack knew the truth. He'd helped me prep for everything. But the fact she was already trying to twist reality meant one thing. She wasn't done. And that scared me more than anything. Because Amanda wasn't going to go down quietly. She was going to drag everything and everyone into the storm with her. 2 days after New Year's, Amanda showed up at my new house. Not called. Not texted. Just showed up. It was early morning, the sea air was cool, and I was on the back deck sipping my coffee, already dressed for the gym. I heard the tires on gravel first. Then a sharp knock. 3 times. Aggressive. She was wearing black, tight leggings, oversized sunglasses, hair in a bun like she was mourning something. Maybe herself. I opened the door and leaned against the frame, arms crossed. Nice view, she said, peeking past me. Yours used to be better, I replied. Her lips tightened. We need to talk. I didn't move. You can say it from there. She took off her glasses slowly, trying to perform emotion. You blindsided me, Kyle. I didn't think you'd be so calculated. That word again. Calculated. Like I was some villain, not a man reacting to betrayal. I didn't answer. I wanted her to feel the weight of silence. I made mistakes, she continued. But you made a war out of it. You wanted to see me humiliated. I raised an eyebrow. You toasted to your freedom in front of 30 people. You wanted a spectacle. I just gave you one. She laughed, bitterly. You think this is funny? No, I said. I think it's overdue. Then she changed tactics. They always do. Kyle, he didn't mean anything, she whispered. It was just a distraction. I didn't think you cared anymore. We hadn't been close in months. There it was. The old blame shift. She wanted me to believe it was my fault. That her months of lying, sneaking off, and calling another man baby in her text was somehow justified because I had been distant. You had a choice, Amanda, I said coldly. You could have talked. You could have left. But you chose to lie. Repeatedly. She shrugged. So what now? You just burn everything down? Make me start over with nothing? I stared at her, and for a second, I saw the panic, the fake confidence cracking. I didn't burn it down, I said. You did that when you picked him over me and kept picking him. I just walked away from the fire. Silence. Then she leaned in, voice low. He dumped me. You win. Happy. That surprised me. I blinked. Brandon? He left you. She scoffed. Said I had too much baggage. Said he wasn't ready for all this. Coward. I almost laughed. The guy she risked everything for, the one she sneaked around to be with, threw her away when things got real. Poetic. She looked around the house again, trying to hold back tears, but they weren't real. I knew Amanda too well. She was performing. Always performing. Then she said something that almost made me lose it. You should forgive me. We were great once. You're not going to find another me. I stepped forward. I don't want another you, I said. I want peace. I want trust. I want nights without paranoia and days without pretending. I don't miss you, Amanda. I miss who I thought you were. She bit her lip, finally wounded. And then, in true Amanda fashion, she snapped. You think this ends here? You think I'm just going to fade out like some sad ex-wife? I made you social. I made you confident. I gave you a life. I smiled, a real one, for the first time in months. You gave me lies, Amanda. And now you gave me freedom. She stared at me, jaw clenched, then turned and stormed off. I watched her leave. No sadness. No regret. Just relief. But I knew this wasn't the end. Not with Amanda. She was wounded now. Cornered. And people like her? They don't retreat. They plot. And when she found out what else I'd done behind the scenes, the final blow I had ready, she was going to explode. Amanda didn't text. Didn't call. No late-night emails. No threats or crocodile tears. For 72 hours, there was total silence. And that silence? It was terrifying. Because Amanda never went quiet unless she was building a bomb. I didn't have to wait long to find out what it was. Sunday morning, I got a call from my accountant, Dave. Kyle, we've got a situation, he said, his voice sharp. Tell me. Amanda tried to access your corporate accounts through a shared business app. She used your old login from the marketing platform and triggered a fraud alert when she attempted to pull down client data. I froze. My company, my software consulting firm, was the one thing untouched by the divorce drama. Or so I thought. Amanda had no stake in it, no access. But she knew just enough about how I ran it to be dangerous. Did she get anything? I asked. No. The system locked her out. But she tried more than once from multiple IPs. She's either digging for leverage, or she's trying to sabotage you. I hung up, eyes burning. Of course, Amanda couldn't destroy me emotionally, so she was going for something bigger. Reputation, legacy, career. That afternoon, I checked social media, and there it was. A subtle post on her story. Funny how people pretend to be gentlemen after gutting you like animals. Cheers to snakes in suits. Cryptic, dramatic, perfectly designed for attention. Within the hour, 3 mutual friends sent me screenshots. A few even reached out to ask if I had cheated on her. Her. The woman who toasted to having new men before the clock even hit midnight was now painting herself as the victim. I could have called her. Could have told her to stop. But Amanda didn't respond to reason. She only responded to consequences. So I went quiet. And I sent my lawyer a final file. It was a folder labeled Ellington. Inside, everything the private investigator had uncovered. Photos, timestamp texts, receipts, the whole affair package. We were going nuclear. The next day, her lawyer called mine. Amanda was deeply hurt by the level of aggression in my filings. Aggression? She wasn't hurt. She was cornered. I had built a legal case so airtight, even her own attorney couldn't find a hole. Amanda had waived alimony without reading the prenup. She thought she was securing leverage with a dramatic public divorce. Instead, she handed me every weapon I needed. And when she realized that, she went ballistic. I was at the gym when she showed up again. The front desk buzzed me mid-set. There's a woman asking for you. Says it's urgent. I walked to the lobby, heart pounding. There she was. Tears streaked down her makeup, hair wild, phone in one hand, some rolled-up document in the other. You bastard, she hissed, charging toward me. You destroyed me. People turned. I felt the heat of a dozen eyes. You think I deserve nothing? That I should be punished like some criminal? I didn't flinch. Amanda, go home. You humiliated me in court. You froze my accounts. You even got me fired. That stopped me. What? My company found the PI photos, she said. I lost 3 clients. My boss said I embarrassed the brand. So that was it. Amanda hadn't just lost the money and the marriage. She lost her image. And Amanda without her image? She's nothing. You did this, she whispered. You enjoyed watching me fall. I stared at her, really stared, and said, no. I enjoyed watching the truth finally catch up. Then I turned my back and walked away. I didn't need revenge. Truth was enough. But Amanda? She wasn't finished. And the next move she made was something even I didn't see coming. It was a Wednesday morning when I got the envelope. No postmark. No return address. Just left in the mailbox of my beach house. Hand-delivered. Inside, a single sheet of paper and a flash drive. The paper was printed with Amanda's handwriting font. Yes, she had one, spelled out in big, dramatic letters. If I go down, I'm taking you with me. I stared at it for a moment, then plugged the flash drive into my laptop. The folder had 6 files. Photos. A few doctored screenshots of fake conversations between me and an intern from my company. One file was a voice memo, my voice, distorted and chopped, saying things I never said. Amanda had gone full scorched earth. This was her final card, framing me for harassment, possibly misconduct. Maybe to hurt my business. Maybe just to destroy what was left of my name. I sat back in my chair, fingers steepled, eyes closed. She wasn't stupid. She was desperate. A cornered manipulator who had run out of lies that worked and decided if she couldn't be the star, she'd burn the stage. I called my lawyer, emailed my IT guy, and by that night, we traced the file's origins to a cheap editing app and a VPN server Amanda used 2 months earlier when she pretended to be in yoga retreats, but was actually holed up with Brandon in Vegas. The pieces fell together too perfectly. She thought she had built a fire, but all she gave me was kindling for a courtroom victory. Still, I couldn't sleep that night. The betrayal had stopped being emotional. Now it was warfare. I kept replaying it all in my head. 5 years. 5 years of building a life with someone who would fake evidence, lie in court, toast to having new men at my expense, then try to tear down everything I had built out of bitterness. The next day, I handed the flash drive over to my lawyer and filed a formal restraining order. She was done pretending. So was I. Then came the moment I didn't expect, the one that hit deeper than all the rage and drama. It was from her sister, Melissa. She called me late that night. We hadn't spoken since Amanda and I split. Hey Kyle, she said, voice shaky. I know I shouldn't get involved, but I had to say something. What's going on? She's not okay. Like, really not okay. She's been drinking, locked herself in her condo for 3 days. Says she has nothing left. Silence on the line. Then she added, I think she's spiraling. I should have felt something. Guilt. Pity. Maybe a twinge of the man who once loved her. But I didn't. I just felt empty. Amanda built her cage, I said. She locked the door. I just walked away from it. Melissa sniffled. I know. I just thought you should hear it. Thanks for the call. I hung up. That night, I sat outside, wind rolling off the ocean, and thought about the man I used to be. The one who brought Amanda flowers every Friday. The one who stayed late after work just to surprise her with her favorite takeout. The one who ignored the red flags because he believed love could fix everything. That man was gone. Replaced by someone sharper. Colder maybe, but real. Amanda's last move failed. And now, for the first time in years, I wasn't reacting to her chaos. I was breathing again. But one more storm was coming. One more twist I never saw coming. And it would change everything again. The next twist didn't come in a text, a call, or a courtroom filing. It came knocking literally. Friday night. I was half-dressed, getting ready to meet Jack and a few guys for drinks downtown. Doorbell rings. I wasn't expecting anyone, but I figured it was a neighbor or some delivery screw-up. I opened the door, and there she stood. Not Amanda. Her mother. Cynthia Walker, a woman who wore pearl earrings to the beach and judged everyone with the kind of eyes that could freeze a flame. We hadn't spoken in nearly a year. Not since she toasted Amanda's birthday by saying, here's to being too hot for loyalty. Charming, right? Mrs. Walker, I said flatly, gripping the doorknob. She gave me a once-over and smirked. Still dressing like you own the world, I see. I didn't even ask her why she was there. I just waited. She stepped forward like she belonged there. May I come in? No. She paused, clearly not used to hearing that word. I came to talk. Face to face. Not text, not email. I'm busy. You're always busy. You were too busy to keep my daughter's attention too, apparently. I clenched my jaw. This woman raised Amanda. I should have known what I was signing up for from day one. She crossed her arms, eyes narrowing. She's in trouble, Kyle. You may not care, but she's spiraling. Drinking. Saying things. Scary things. She should get help. She won't. She only listens to men she respects. And for better or worse, you're still one of them. I wanted to slam the door. But then Cynthia did something unexpected. She dropped the act. I know my daughter, she said, quieter now. I know she lies. I know she manipulates. I taught her some of it. But you were the best thing that ever happened to her. You were good to her. Too good. And when you stopped letting her win, she broke. I didn't say anything. She's not evil, she added. She's just hollow. And now she's filling that with whatever she can find. Booze. Pity. Revenge. I stepped outside, shutting the door behind me. What do you want from me? A visit. One. Not to reconcile. Not to forgive. Just to talk. Before she does something she can't undo. There was a beat of silence between us. The kind that says this is real now. I should have said no. But I remembered what Melissa said. And despite everything, part of me still felt responsible, not for Amanda's choices, but for what 5 years of history can do to a person when it all burns down. Where is she? Cynthia handed me an address on a crumpled napkin. Some friend's apartment. Downtown. She hasn't left in 2 days. I took it. Didn't say I'd go. Didn't say I wouldn't. Cynthia turned to leave, but not before saying one last thing. She never cried over anyone before you. I closed the door behind her, heart pounding. What was I walking into? A trap? A plea for forgiveness? Or something darker? I didn't know Amanda anything. But maybe, just maybe, I needed closure. The real kind. The kind you don't get from courtrooms and text messages. So I grabbed my keys and headed downtown. I pulled up to the address Cynthia gave me, a cracked old apartment building tucked behind a liquor store and a boarded-up laundromat. This wasn't Amanda's usual territory. She belonged to rooftop bars and luxury condos. The kind of places where lighting mattered more than rent. But here she was, holed up in someone else's rundown unit, hiding from the fallout of her own destruction. I knocked. Nothing. I knocked again, harder this time. A shuffle. Then a voice slurred and sharp. If it's you, Kyle, just come in. I stepped inside. The place reeked of tequila, cheap perfume, and stale air. The curtains were drawn, dishes piled in the sink, and fast food wrappers covered the coffee table. And there she was. Amanda, curled up on the worn-out couch in one of my old hoodies, probably the one she refused to give back after the split. Her mascara had dried in streaks under her eyes, and her hair was tied up in a loose bun that screamed I gave up. She looked up at me and smirked. Did Mommy beg you to check on me? I didn't answer. She pulled her knees up, balancing a half-empty bottle of Patron on her thigh. Figures. She always liked you more than me. You're drunk. No, she said. I'm honest. Something you always wanted, right? I didn't sit. I just stood there, watching her unravel in real time. I lost everything, Kyle. She raised the bottle like a trophy. You win. Your little revenge mission worked. The house, the court, my job, my clients, my image, all gone. You turned me into a me. No, Amanda, I said quietly. You turned yourself into a cautionary tale. She threw the bottle. It hit the wall just beside me, shattered into pieces. I didn't flinch. I gave you the best years of my life, she screamed. I kept things exciting. I tried to make us fun again. And you became this boring, robotic ghost. Always working. Always judging. I stepped forward. And you fixed that by sliding into Brandon's bed? That name still made her twitch. She dropped her face into her hands. I just wanted to feel wanted again. You were wanted, I said. You were loved. You were chosen. But you needed an audience. Always performing, always needing more applause. She looked up. And what do you need, Kyle? A clean conscience? A hero complex? No, I said. I just wanted peace. And you can't survive in peace. You need chaos to feel alive. She stood slowly, stumbling a bit, walking over to me in bare feet. You're not as strong as you pretend, she said. You're still here. You still care. I looked her in the eye. No, I'm here because I didn't want to read your obituary. That shut her up. For the first time, she looked small. Not broken. Just tired. Amanda Walker, the woman who once controlled every room she walked into, stood in front of me in a stranger's apartment, surrounded by her own wreckage. And I didn't feel rage anymore. I felt release. I'm not saving you, I said. You have to do that yourself. Her lip trembled, and for a second, I thought she might ask for help, but Amanda only knew how to demand, never beg. So she whispered, "Then go." I turned, walked to the door, and just before I left, I heard her voice, soft, almost a ghost. "I'm sorry." I didn't look back, because some apologies don't need answers. They just need silence. It's strange how silence can feel louder than screaming. That night, after I left Amanda's crumbling little hideout, I drove without thinking, windows down, wind pouring through like it was trying to scrub the last of her voice out of my head. I didn't go home right away. I stopped at the pier near my beach house. The same one we used to walk on when things were still good, back when I thought forever meant something. I sat at the edge, staring at the dark water, letting it breathe around me. It was over. Really over. No more legal battles. No more screaming matches. No more cryptic texts or fake apologies. Just silence. And freedom. But freedom has a strange taste when you've been in a cage long enough. It doesn't feel like champagne. It feels like stillness. Like starting over without knowing what the next move is. Like staring at the pieces of your old life and realizing you don't want to put them back together. Amanda had been a storm. Beautiful, thrilling, loud, but destructive. And for years, I convinced myself that I was strong enough to stand in it without getting blown apart. But I wasn't. I was a man who built a life around a fantasy. Around a woman who saw relationships as games and affection as a weapon. And no matter how much love I gave her, she was always hungry for more. Not more love. Just more. More attention. More men. More drama. And now she had less than ever. She still hadn't called after I left. No texts. No threats. Maybe her mother convinced her to stop. Or maybe, just maybe, Amanda finally realized that this wasn't a performance anymore. That the curtain had dropped, the lights had gone out, and the audience had left the theater. I thought about everything I'd lost. The years. The trust. The version of me that used to believe people were who they said they were. But I also thought about what I'd gained. The peace. The clarity. The power to rebuild without her shadow following me into every room. The next morning, I packed up some old boxes she'd left behind. Trinkets. Photos. A few of her designer shoes she probably forgot during the split. I didn't burn them or smash them. I dropped them off at a donation center under a fake name. Let someone else give her things a second life. She wouldn't get another one from me. A week passed. Then two. No news. No messages. I heard from Melissa again. Just a short text. She's in rehab now. Voluntarily. Said your visit woke her up. I stared at it for a long time before typing back. Good. I hope she makes it. That's all I said. That's all I needed to say. And now? Now I live differently. Not cautiously, just honestly. I surf in the mornings. I read in silence. I talk to my mother more. I've started dating again, slowly, carefully. Nothing serious. Just real. I no longer apologize for wanting loyalty. And I no longer doubt my instincts. Amanda taught me something valuable. Through pain, through betrayal, through her theatrical collapse, she showed me the difference between love and illusion. And if there's anything I'd tell someone else going through what I did, it's this. Don't chase the person who broke you just because they cry after they're finished. People like Amanda only cry when the mask slips. You can't build peace on top of broken trust. You can only build peace when you walk away and never look back. And that's what I did. I didn't win. I didn't lose. I survived. And survival, when it's earned, tastes better than revenge ever could. You ever get a message so disgusting, so soul-splitting, that your hands go numb and your heart starts pounding like it's trying to claw its way out of your chest? That was me Friday night. I was sitting in the driveway, engine off, keys still in the ignition, just staring at my phone. A video had just come through. No warning. No words. Just a video. From my wife, Lindsay. She was on my yacht. Not just lounging. No. Laughing. Champagne in hand, sunglasses on, and sitting next to some shirtless guy with abs like a Calvin Klein model. One of those slicked up, arrogant grins plastered across his smug face. "This is our yacht now," she said to the camera, her lips curled into this cold, poisonous smile, "and soon your house will be ours too." She winked. The video ended. I didn't blink. I smirked. I don't know why. Some part of my brain broke, probably. Some dark, sarcastic voice inside me muttered, "She really thought I'd let this slide?" I turned the key. The engine roared. I drove. Not home. Not to the police. Straight to the coast. Because what Lindsay forgot is that the yacht was only the first piece. She didn't know about the speedboat. I bought it last year. Kept it under a fake name. It was a gift to myself. A backup plan. The moment I pulled the cover off it and saw that baby shine under the moonlight, I felt alive again. 10 minutes later, I was slicing through the waves, wind in my face, salt biting my lips. I wasn't thinking. I wasn't planning. I was running on something darker than anger. Something colder than betrayal. This wasn't just about a marriage. This was war. As the yacht came into view, my yacht, I slowed down, killed the lights, let the water carry me silently toward the deck. I could see them now. Lindsay and her boy, still laughing. Her heels were off, her legs draped across his lap. He was feeding her strawberries. You think that's cliché? Try watching it when the strawberries were meant for your anniversary. I climbed aboard like a ghost. Barefoot. Silent. They didn't hear a thing until I stepped into the light. The guy's face drained of color. He looked like he'd seen a damn ghost. Lindsay? She blinked like I was a bad dream that hadn't gone away. You forgot one thing, I said, my voice calm too calm. This yacht isn't yours. It never was. She stood up, brushing her hair back like that would fix anything. Nick, babe, what are you doing here? I can explain. I laughed. I actually laughed. Oh, I bet you can. She looked at me like I was the problem. Like I was the crazy one. Like she had a right to be angry. This is just a misunderstanding, she said, stepping forward, trying to touch my arm. I pulled back. You sent me a video, I said slowly, like I was explaining math to a child, from my own yacht. Laughing with this clown. Telling me you were coming for my house next. And now you want to call it a misunderstanding? Her face snapped. The fake concern melted, and there she was, the real Lindsay. Cold. Cruel. Smirking now. Yeah, I sent it, she said, voice icy. You've been too boring for too long, Nick. I needed someone who made me feel alive again. I stared at her. This woman I'd loved for 9 years. The one who used to cry in my arms when her mother called her a failure. The one who once whispered she couldn't breathe without me. Now she was telling me I was boring. In front of the human protein shake she'd been playing house with. You've been plotting this, I said. All of it. She crossed her arms. Of course I have. You thought I married you for your charming personality? Please. I've been waiting for the right moment to take what I'm owed. The guy finally spoke. Man, just walk away. You lost. Don't make this ugly. I turned to him. Smiled. You think this is ugly? I whispered. You haven't seen ugly yet. They both froze. I let the silence stretch. Let the tension claw at them. Then I walked away, calm, measured, like I hadn't just seen my entire life rip in half. But as I left the yacht and stepped back into the night, I wasn't thinking about divorce. I wasn't thinking about heartbreak. I was thinking about revenge. They say hindsight is 20/20ths, but when you're in it, when you're living the betrayal, everything feels like static. But once I saw that video, everything snapped into place like shards of broken glass forming a perfect picture. All the signs had been there. All the red flags I ignored because I trusted her. Because I was blind enough to believe that love meant loyalty. The first change was subtle. Lindsay started staying late at work. She's in PR, which I always thought meant client dinners and late-night Zoom calls with influencers. So when she came home at 10 p.m. smelling like expensive cologne I didn't wear, I just assumed it was part of the job. Dumb, right? She also started dressing differently. Less subtle, more skin. I used to love how modest she dressed, classy, elegant. But suddenly it was crop tops, high heels, dresses that barely covered her thighs. I made a joke about it once and she snapped back. Maybe I'm just tired of dressing like a housewife. That stung. Still, I let it go. Then there was the gym. Lindsay hated working out. I bought us a home gym during the pandemic. She used it twice. But out of nowhere, she was waking up at 6 a.m. to hit the gym before work. Said she needed to clear her head. I offered to go with her once. She laughed in my face. Said I'd just slow her down. Her phone became a second limb. Always in her hand. Always locked. She used to leave it lying around. No? She'd panic if I so much as looked at it too long. I asked her once, jokingly, got any secrets in there? She smiled and said, plenty. You just wouldn't understand them. Again, I let it slide. The worst part? I actually believed I was the problem. I started working more, buying her gifts, planning trips. I thought maybe I wasn't being attentive enough. Maybe I'd let the spark die. Meanwhile, she was out there relighting it with someone else. One night, I came home early from a client dinner. I wasn't supposed to be back until 11, but the meeting wrapped early. As I walked into the house, I heard giggling from the backyard. I peeked out the kitchen window and saw her barefoot, wearing one of my dress shirts, drinking wine on the patio. She was alone, talking on her phone. I couldn't hear the words, but her tone, it wasn't for me. It was playful, girlish, dripping with flirtation. She hadn't spoken to me like that in months. I stayed hidden and listened. I told him the trip got extended, she whispered, laughing. Yeah, I'm using his robe right now. You'd like that, huh? I clenched my fists. Something inside me cracked, but I didn't say a word. I walked back to the driveway, started the car, and drove around the block. Waited 30 minutes, then came back through the front door, slamming it like I just arrived. She greeted me with a yawn and a fake stretch. Long day? She asked sweetly, like nothing had happened. I looked at her perfect act, her lies wrapped in perfume, and said, yeah, exhausting. From that night on, I watched more carefully. The hotel receipts. The Uber trips charged to my account. The sudden love for boat rides, even though she always claimed to get seasick. She wasn't even good at hiding it anymore. That's what really burned. She didn't care if I found out. She wanted me to. She wanted me to know she'd won, that she'd played me. But she didn't know me as well as she thought. Because I wasn't just watching. I was planning. And when that video landed in my inbox, her final spit in my face, I knew exactly what had to happen. She thought she broke me. But she just flipped the switch. You think you know how you'll react when you catch someone cheating, especially the person you built your damn life around. But let me tell you something straight. Nothing prepares you for the moment you're face to face with a liar who doesn't even pretend to be sorry. It happened the morning after the yacht ambush. I didn't sleep. I just stared at the ceiling, the taste of salt and betrayal still on my tongue. At around 6 a.m., I got in my car and drove home. She wasn't there yet. I figured she was too busy playing house with her golden boy to bother coming back. But at 7:48 a.m., I heard the keys. She walked in like nothing happened. Sunglasses on, hair a mess, heels in her hand. She looked at me and froze like a raccoon caught in a trash can. Nick, she said, her voice tight. You're up early. I stood in the kitchen, arms crossed, coffee untouched on the counter. I didn't answer. She tried to keep walking, heading toward the stairs. I'm gonna take a shower. Don't bother, I said coldly. She stopped. Excuse me. I took a deep breath. You're not staying here. She laughed, like I'd told a joke. What the hell are you talking about? I saw the video, Lindsay. The yacht. The strawberries. Your little declaration about my house being ours soon too. The smile disappeared. Her mouth opened, then closed again. You broke into the yacht, she said finally, trying to sound offended. I blinked. You're upset that I came to my own yacht after you filmed yourself with another man on it? She rolled her eyes. It's not what it looks like. I slammed my palm on the counter so hard the cup rattled. Don't insult me with that bull. She crossed her arms, shifting into full venom mode. Fine. You want to know the truth? She snapped. Yeah, I cheated. Yeah, I've been seeing Jake. And you know what? He treats me better than you ever did. At least he listens. At least he doesn't bury himself in work every damn day. I felt that like a punch to the chest. The gaslighting of it. Like I'd driven her into his arms by trying to build us a future. I gave you everything, I said quietly. Everything. The house. The yacht. Every piece of comfort you ever asked for. And you threw it away for some biceps and a tan. She laughed again. Cruel this time. No, Nick. I threw it away because I was bored. Because you turned into a checklist husband. Because I was tired of you asking me how my day was like it actually mattered. I stared at her, unable to speak. Her words hit harder than any slap. You disgust me, I finally said. You're standing in the house you said you wanted to raise kids in, and now you're talking to me like I'm the burden. Oh, grow up, she snapped. You think you're the only man this has ever happened to? Cry me a river. You'll be fine. You always are. She turned to go upstairs. You're not staying here, I repeated. Take your things and leave. She paused. You can't kick me out of this house. My name's on it too. I smiled. Not anymore. Her eyes narrowed. What the hell does that mean? I walked to the drawer, pulled out a folder, and dropped it on the table. Signed. Witnessed. Processed. You were too busy getting hand-fed strawberries to notice the notary visit. You don't own this house anymore. She flipped it open, I scanning the documents. Her face went pale. You bastard. You're the one who lit the match, Lindsay. I just let it burn. She stood there, lips trembling, mascara smudged under her eyes, and for once, she had nothing to say. Pack. Leave. And tell your little gym buddy I said, good luck. You're his problem now. She didn't scream. Didn't cry. She just walked up the stairs and slammed the bedroom door. I stood there in silence, feeling like I'd aged 10 years. It wasn't victory. It wasn't closure. It was just the beginning. After Lindsay slammed that bedroom door, silence swallowed the house. It wasn't peaceful. It was suffocating. The kind of silence that doesn't calm you, but sits on your chest like a weight, reminding you every second that the life you thought you had never really existed. I didn't move. I just stood there, staring at the folder I dropped on the table. Her name gone. Her rights revoked. Legally, it was clean. Emotionally, I felt like I just amputated a part of myself. But it was poisoned, rotting. Keeping it would have killed me slowly. She stayed upstairs for an hour. I heard drawers opening, things being tossed around, the occasional frustrated thump against the wall. I guess packing is harder when you're dragging your ego with you. I didn't check on her. I couldn't. Every time I pictured her with him, touching him, laughing with him, giving him what was supposed to be mine, it was like shards of glass slicing through my lungs. She came down with 2 bags. Didn't even look at me. Walked past me like I was a ghost. I followed her to the door, not because I cared anymore, but because I needed to see it happen. I needed that moment burned into my memory, the moment the lies walked out of my house. She turned at the threshold, eyes colder than I'd ever seen. "You're going to die alone, Nick," she said, flat and venomous. I didn't blink. Better alone than beside someone who smiles while stabbing me in the back. She didn't respond. Just stepped outside, slammed the door behind her, and that was it. Gone. I wish I could tell you I felt relief, or power, or even satisfaction. But I didn't. I felt hollow, like I'd been carved out and left behind. The next few days blurred. I worked from home, ignored texts from friends, let calls go to voicemail. The silence in the house was different now, deeper, darker. Every corner felt haunted by her voice, her scent, her laugh. I found her hairbrush in the bathroom one morning and nearly threw up. At night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of the past 2 years. The way she used to grab my hand under the table. The lazy Sunday mornings. The time she said, "I've never felt safer with anyone else." All of it felt like a con. And the worst part? I couldn't even cry. It's like my body didn't trust me enough to let it out. So I just sat in it, drowning in silence, anger, and shame. One night, I grabbed a bottle of bourbon and sat outside on the deck. The yacht was visible from where I stood, glowing faintly under the harbor lights. She had turned it into a crime scene. He had sat there like he owned it. I took a long sip and whispered, "You don't win, Lindsay. Not this time." And in that moment, something inside me shifted. The grief didn't vanish, but I stopped letting it rule me. I realized I'd been mourning a version of her that never existed. The sweet, loyal wife? That was fiction. What I had was a polished lie with pretty lips and a mean soul. The betrayal didn't break me. It woke me up. She thought she was the storm. Turns out, I was the sea. Grief is strange. It doesn't follow a clean timeline, and it sure as hell doesn't care about your plans. One minute you think you've moved on, the next you're triggered by something stupid, like finding her old coffee mug in the cabinet or hearing a song she used to hum while brushing her hair. But grief is also a teacher. And after a week of radio silence, locked doors, and quiet fury, I came to a decision. No more mourning. No more self-pity. No more her. I woke up that Monday with clarity. Not peace, I wasn't there yet. But clarity. I opened the blinds, took the damn mug and smashed it in the sink. Vacuumed every corner of the house like I was erasing fingerprints. Stripped the bed. Burned the sheets. Donated the dresses she left behind. And then I went to my lawyer. I walked in, sat down, and dropped a flash drive on his desk. Videos on there. The one she sent me from the yacht, I said. He plugged it in, watched it once, leaned back with a whistle. "That's bold. Divorce papers ready?" He nodded. "Final draft. Clean. With the assets you moved before the video, she's not touching a dime more." "Good." He paused. "You sure you don't want alimony from her?" "Technically, given her infidelity and the prenup." I raised a hand. Let her keep her pride. That's all she has left. That afternoon, I sent the papers through her lawyer. No warning. Just a tidy little package labeled, "Your turn." The silence that followed was almost funny. No call. No text. Not even a snide email. I guess she didn't expect me to be the one ending it. Lindsay always assumed I was too soft to finish what she started. That night, Jake messaged me. Yeah, him. He had the audacity to DM me on Instagram of all places. Said something like, "Hey man, Just wanted to say I'm sorry things got messy. Didn't mean to hurt you. I stared at the screen for a long minute. Then I replied, Congratulations. You inherited a parasite. Don't forget to smile when she bleeds you dry. Blocked him right after. Didn't wait for a response. From that day on, I started rebuilding. I reconnected with friends I hadn't seen in years. Hit the gym again, not to impress anyone, just to feel like me again. I started eating better, sleeping better, laughing again, even if just at dumb movies or awkward small talk with strangers at the grocery store. And then, one Saturday, I went back to the yacht. Not to dwell, not to remember, to reclaim it. I scrubbed it top to bottom, replaced the linens, threw out the wine glasses she'd sipped from, reprogrammed the music system, sat at the bow that night with a cold beer in hand, the water calm beneath me, and whispered to the ocean. She didn't win. That realization hit different. Because for weeks, I'd felt like I lost my marriage, my pride, my vision of the future. But the truth? I dodged a bullet. A beautiful, manipulative, narcissistic bullet. And the more I pulled her roots out of my life, the more I realized how much space she took up in my mind, in my home, in my soul. She wasn't a partner. She was a virus. And I was finally cleaned. The world reacts differently when a man gets cheated on. Some people treat you like you're pathetic. Others act like you should have seen it coming. And then there are those few, the real ones, who look you in the eye and say, I'm sorry, brother. That's brutal. When the divorce became public, the silence broke fast. Friends I hadn't heard from in months started messaging me. Some with sympathy, others with curiosity. One guy, Tom, an old college buddy, straight up said, Man, I always knew she was bad news. I just didn't want to be the one to say it. Thanks, Tom. Real helpful now. Even my mom, who adored Lindsay, baked her pies, treated her like a second daughter, called me crying. I thought she was good for you, she whispered. But I never imagined she'd do something so cruel. I told her not to worry. I wasn't the one who lost. Not really. But the biggest twist? Lindsay tried to spin the story. A week after the papers hit her lawyer's desk, she posted a photo on Instagram. Her, standing at some rooftop party, glass of wine in hand, captioned, New chapter. No regrets. The comments were wild. Her friends, the fake kind, hyped her up like she'd just survived a war. Proud of you, queen. You deserve happiness. He never appreciated your shine. I should have ignored it. But you know how it is. When you've been burned that bad, you want the world to know the truth. You want justice. Or at least vindication. So I posted my own photo. Just the yacht. Clean. Polished. Sunset in the background. Caption. The things she left behind. In the piece that followed. No tags. No names. But people knew. Suddenly, my DMs were flooded. Half the messages were from strangers saying, Damn, respect. The other half? Women, beautiful women, dropping sympathy disguised as interest. I wasn't ready for that. Not yet. But it felt good to know that I wasn't just the guy who got cheated on. I was the guy who got up. But Lindsay? Oh, she wasn't done crashing. Turns out, her golden boy, Jake, wasn't so golden after all. 2 months in, he got caught cheating on her with some fitness influencer. Publicly. Sloppily. I'd be lying if I said I didn't smile when I saw the photos. The same way she laughed on my yacht, I laughed at her heartbreak. She tried texting me. Lindsay, I don't expect anything from you. I messed up. I know that now. I stared at it for a minute. Then I deleted it without replying. Because here's the thing, I wasn't angry anymore. Not really. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want her back. I didn't even want an apology. I just wanted to forget she ever existed. And slowly, I was getting there. I picked up old hobbies. Started playing guitar again. Went hiking every weekend. I even started volunteering once a week at a shelter downtown, not because I wanted good karma, but because doing something real felt healing. Like proof that the world still had genuine people in it. And I talked more. To friends. To strangers. To myself, sometimes. Saying things out loud made them easier to carry. I realized I wasn't just rebuilding a life without Lindsay. I was rebuilding myself. Stronger. Smarter. Sharper. And more awake than I'd ever been before. If you asked me back then what I'd say to Lindsay if I ever saw her again, the answer would have been easy. Something brutal. Something that would crush her ego into dust. I used to rehearse those lines in my head. You chose trash over loyalty, or, I hope he was worth losing a real man. But the truth is, by the time our paths crossed again, I didn't need to say anything. It was about 3 months after the divorce was finalized. I was at a friend's art exhibit downtown. He'd invited me out because, in his words, you need to stop hiding and start living. I was standing near the back wall, sipping whiskey from a plastic cup, pretending to understand abstract paintings, when I heard her laugh. That laugh. I froze, turned, and there she was. Lindsay. Dressed to kill, of course. Tight black dress, heels high enough to trip God, lips red, hair flawless. She was talking to some older guy in a blazer, the kind who wears confidence like cologne. But when her eyes met mine, the smile slipped. Just for a second. I didn't move, didn't flinch, just held her gaze. She walked over, slowly, like a lion pretending not to be hunting. Nick, she said, trying to sound casual. Lindsay. She smiled. You look different. I feel different. There was a pause. She looked me up and down, like she was trying to figure out how I'd healed without her. Her lips parted like she wanted to ask something, maybe if I missed her. Maybe if I still hated her. Maybe if I'd take her back. I gave her nothing. Looks like the yacht's still floating, she said. It's cleaner now. That hit her. I saw it in her eyes, just a flicker of shame trying to fight its way out of her pride. But she swallowed it down, like she always did. Jake turned out to be a mess, she said suddenly, like that explained everything. I shrugged. People like that usually are. She looked around, as if hoping someone would interrupt us. I've been thinking a lot lately. About what happened. Don't what? Don't try to rewrite it, I said. You cheated. You lied. You laughed about it while sipping champagne on a boat I paid for. That's not a misunderstanding, Lindsay. That's a choice. She didn't reply. And the worst part? I continued. You didn't just betray me. You disrespected me. You made me feel like a joke in my own story. There it was. The crack. Her lips trembled. For once, she didn't have a comeback. I'm not angry anymore, I said. But I'm done carrying your name around like it means something. You're just a lesson now. She looked like she wanted to cry. But she didn't. She just nodded, whispered, I'm sorry, and turned away. And just like that, she was gone again. But this time, I wasn't hollow. I didn't feel broken or bitter. I felt clean. I stepped outside, took a deep breath of the night air, and smiled for real, not the fake smile I wore during the marriage, or the bitter one after the video. This one came from somewhere real. That's when I realized, closure doesn't come when they apologize. It comes when you no longer need one. It comes when you see them, the liar, the traitor, the person who tried to make you small, and feel nothing but gratitude. Because they're gone. And you? You're still standing. They say time heals all wounds. That's not true. Time doesn't heal you, truth does. Action does. Clarity does. What time does is give you the distance to see everything for what it really was. And looking back now, with the storm finally behind me, I can say this without hesitation. Lindsay wasn't a loss. She was a warning. A beautiful, manipulative, smooth-talking warning dressed in perfume and red lipstick. A test, one I nearly failed. But I didn't. I survived her. And I came out sharper, smarter, and far more honest with myself than I ever was before her. After that final conversation at the gallery, I changed the way I lived. Not because I wanted to prove something, but because I wanted to feel free. And freedom doesn't mean moving on quickly or jumping into another relationship. It means owning your story, every damn part of it. So I made peace with my mistakes. I forgave myself for missing the signs, for excusing the red flags, for loving a lie. I stopped asking, why did she do this to me? And started asking, why did I let it go on for so long? That's where the healing starts. I relearned who I was without her shadow hanging over me. And to every man reading this, or hearing it, let me give you the truth I wish someone had told me. 1. If something feels off, it probably is. Trust your gut, not your fear, not the story she keeps feeding you. Your gut doesn't lie, people do. 2. Loyalty is rare. Don't confuse time spent with trust earned. Some people stay beside you not because they love you, but because you're useful, stable, or easy to manipulate. 3. Never beg for honesty. If someone won't give you the truth willingly, they've already chosen the lie. 4. Don't make her happiness your responsibility. If she's unhappy, she'll go searching for validation, and if she's a coward, she'll find it between someone else's sheets. That's not your failure. That's hers. 5. Document everything. Keep records. Not for revenge. For clarity. For protection. Because when they twist the story, and they will in fact save you from madness. And finally. 6. When it ends, let it. Don't chase, don't beg, don't barter. The moment someone shows you who they are, believe them. And walk, head held high. Because nothing, and I mean nothing, is lonelier than sleeping next to someone who already betrayed you in their heart. I rebuilt my life piece by piece. And now, every piece is mine. The house? Quiet, clean, full of music I actually like. The yacht? No longer haunted by her laughter. The mornings? Peaceful. The nights? Free of suspicion, silence, or cold shoulders. I've even started dating again. Slowly. Carefully. I don't rush. I don't hand out trust like candy anymore. But I also don't hold every new woman responsible for Lindsay's crimes. That's growth. Lindsay? I don't know where she is now. Maybe still chasing attention. Maybe playing house with someone else until he figures her out. Maybe looking in the mirror, wondering how it all slipped through her fingers. But I'm not her problem anymore. And that's the win. Because healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means remembering without hurting. And love, real love, can only live where lies used to die. So here I am. Stronger. Wiser. And no longer carrying her weight. I didn't just survive the betrayal. I outgrew it. And if you're in the middle of your own version of this hell, hear me when I say, you will too. You'll rise. And when you do, she'll just be a chapter in the book you wrote about your comeback. Nick. There's a special kind of humiliation that sticks to your skin like sweat. The kind that doesn't fade in the shower or disappear after a stiff drink. Mine started under crystal chandeliers and velvet walls, in a high-end restaurant I didn't even want to go to. My name's Jake Harrison, and I paid $10,000 to get thrown out like trash by the people I thought were family. The night was supposed to be a celebration, our 8th anniversary. My wife, Emily, insisted we bring her entire family. They've supported us through everything, she said. What I didn't know then was they were supporting her. All right, supporting her lies, her late nights, her second life behind my back. We were at La Premiere, the kind of place where the wine list needs a translator and even the water has an accent. Her father, Frank, was cracking old man jokes. Her mom, Barbara, the real puppet master, kept giving me this icy smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. And Emily? She was glowing. Not the kind of glow a woman has around her husband. The kind of glow that comes from secrets. Halfway through the appetizers, she didn't even sit next to me. She was giggling across the table with her sister Claire, whispering and glancing down at her phone every few minutes like a damn teenager. I asked her, everything okay? She smiled like I was a waiter asking for her order. Chill, Jake. It's just girl stuff. Right. The bill came in a sleek black folder, heavier than I expected. I opened it. $10,472.89. I paid it. No complaints. No questions. I handed over the card like a loyal fool because that's what a husband does, right? Then came the slap I didn't see coming. Not a physical one. Worse. Emily stood up, champagne glass in hand. I have an announcement, she said, clinking it with a knife. Her voice had that fake cheer she used when talking to customer service. I want a divorce. Just like that. The restaurant fell silent. Forks froze midair. My heart stopped. What? I asked. Not loud. Just one word. But it hit the table like a hammer. Barbara stood up next. I think it's best you leave, Jake, she said, her voice smooth, like she'd practiced it. You're no longer part of our family. I looked around. Her dad? Smirking like he'd just hit a jackpot. Her sister? Didn't even make eye contact. And Emily? She took a sip of her drink and sat back down. As if nothing happened. As if I hadn't just paid for their royal feast. I stood there, frozen. Half of me expected it to be a joke. Some weird reality show stunt. But no camera crew came out. No punchline. So I left. Walked past the valet without asking for my car. Just walked. The streets were blurred by the rain and my disbelief. I sat on a bench, soaked to the bone, staring at nothing. I didn't cry. Not yet. I felt something worse, numbness. Like someone had cut the wires to my chest. An hour later, my phone rang. It was Emily. I didn't answer. Then came the texts. Emily, how dare you just walk out like that? Claire, Mom's furious. You embarrassed us. Barbara, I can't believe you're acting like a child after all we've done for you. Done for me? I paid their mortgage last year when Frank lost his job. I bought Emily her dream car. Took them on a cruise for Christmas. And now, after footing a $10,000 bill, I'm the disgrace? I finally picked up when Emily called again. I wanted answers. Closure. Something. You're disgusting, she snapped. You made a scene. You couldn't even be a man and stay. I asked her flat out, who is he? Silence. Then the click of a call ended. And that's when the real unraveling began. I wasn't just dealing with betrayal. I was about to discover everything I thought I knew about my wife was a damn lie. The next morning, I woke up on my buddy Zach's couch with a stiff neck and a knot in my chest that wouldn't go away. My phone had 37 messages. I didn't open a single one. I just sat there, staring at the ceiling, trying to convince myself that maybe last night had been some messed up dream. But it wasn't. Zach handed me a coffee and sat down across from me. "You good?" I laughed. Not because it was funny, because there was nothing else to do. My wife dumped me in front of a crowd after I paid 10 grand for dinner. Her mom told me I wasn't part of the family, and I think she's been sleeping with someone else. He didn't say anything for a moment. Then, "You want to talk or punch something?" I chose neither. Instead, I went home. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Her heels weren't by the door. No scent of overpriced perfume lingering in the hallway. The closet was half empty, like she'd packed in advance. I checked the nightstand. Her wedding ring? Gone. That's when I noticed her laptop, left open on the kitchen counter. It was stupid. Reckless. Like she wanted me to find it. I hesitated, then clicked. Emails. Dozens of them. A folder named Work Trips full of hotel bookings. None of them matched up with her actual travel dates. And then, the real punch to the gut. A thread between her and someone named Trey Williams. "Trey, last night was insane. You wore me out. I still smell you on my sheets. Emily. LOL, you're bad. Can't wait for next week. Same room. Trey. Same time, same bed, same you." My fingers clenched around the edge of the counter until my knuckles went white. I clicked the name. Found a photo. Some young finance bro type. Muscle shirt. Gold chain. Fake smile. The kind of guy who thinks networking means banging married women. I stared at her words. Can't wait. Last night was insane. I remembered all those times she came home tired, said she had meetings, needed me time, pushed me away when I reached for her in bed. She wasn't tired. She wasn't busy. She was getting laid. By him. In hotels I probably paid for. Something inside me snapped, not like a break, but a slow, burning tear. Not just because she cheated, but because she turned me into a fool. A walking ATM with a ring on his finger. I printed the emails. All of them. Put them in a black envelope. I wrote her name across it in thick black marker and dropped it off at her office. I didn't call. Didn't text. I wanted her to wonder when the bomb would go off. A few hours later, my phone rang again. This time it was Barbara. I should have ignored it. "Jake," she began, her voice tight. "What you did was beyond petty." "What I did?" I said calmly. "You mean, leaving after being publicly humiliated? You sent private emails to Emily's boss. That's harassment." "I didn't send anything to her boss," I said. "Not yet." Silence. Then the line went dead. Minutes later, Emily texted me. "You're dead to me. Don't come near me ever again." That was the first time I smiled all day. By sunset, Trey messaged me on Instagram. "Bro, chill. It's not that serious. We didn't mean for it to happen." I replied with one word. "Meet." He never answered. But that didn't mean I was done. Because now it wasn't just about betrayal. It was about burning the whole house of lies down with everyone inside still sipping wine and thinking they'd won. And if Emily thought she could cheat, lie, humiliate me, and walk away with clean hands, she had no idea who she married. 3 nights later, I was parked outside Trey's building, engine off, just watching. It wasn't premeditated, not exactly. I didn't bring a weapon, didn't plan some movie-style confrontation. I just needed to see the guy, face to face. The man who slid into my life like a parasite while I was out here building a future for someone who never deserved it. At 11:42 p.m., he showed up, laughing, with her. Emily. She was wearing the same leather jacket I bought her on our 5th anniversary. Her hair tied back like she always did when she wanted to feel free. They kissed under the streetlight like teenagers, no shame, no guilt, just heat in hands. I should have stayed in the car, but my body moved on its own. I walked straight toward them. Trey noticed first. He paused. Emily turned, and when she saw me, her face drained like she'd seen a ghost. "Jake, what the hell are you doing here?" I looked at Trey. "You. Talk." He raised his hands. "Man, look, this wasn't planned. I didn't even know she was married when we met." I laughed, bitter and sharp. "How many hotel rooms does it take to figure it out, Trey?" Emily stepped between us like she was the victim here. "You're being insane. This is harassment." I ignored her. "You called our marriage a burden. In that email, her lips curled. Because it was. You're boring, Jake. Predictable. You were obsessed with work, your damn routines, your spreadsheets. I needed something real. That one hit harder than I expected. I looked at her, really looked. And for the first time in months, maybe years, I didn't see my wife. I saw a stranger. Cold. Calculating. A master at rehearsed affection. A woman who could fake love like a damn professional actress. Trey mumbled, maybe I should go. You think? I snapped. He turned and walked fast. Coward. Emily stayed. You're embarrassing yourself, she said. Move on already. You think you're the only guy who's ever been dumped? I stepped closer, low voice. You didn't dump me. You staged a public execution. You humiliated me. You weaponized your whole damn family. And now you're parading around with your boy toy like I don't exist. Because you don't, she shouted. People nearby turned their heads. Good, I said. Because when the court sees those emails, and the bank sees what you've been doing with my accounts, and the IRS gets the records of the cruise payments under your parents' names, you'll wish I only embarrassed you. Her face twisted. You wouldn't dare. I already did. I walked away before she could speak again. Back in my car, my hands were shaking, not from fear, but from adrenaline. I didn't care anymore about being calm, about playing the good guy. I spent too long being decent while she played dirty. That night, I changed every password I had, froze our joint accounts, moved money she didn't even know I had into another bank, canceled her credit cards. I left her with nothing but the illusion of control. By the next morning, her sister Claire texted me. You're sick. She's crying. I hope you're proud. I replied. I'm just getting started. I met with my lawyer that afternoon. Showed him everything. Emails. Hotel bills. Even a voice recording from a night Emily came home drunk and bragged to her friend about finally training Jake to shut up. The lawyer whistled. You've got a case. Big one. Especially if you want to go after spousal support. I don't want her money, I said. I want my dignity back. He nodded. Then let's make sure she never takes it again. That night, I slept in my own bed. Alone. And for the first time in years, it didn't feel empty. It felt free. A week later, the silence in the house was different. Not lonely, peaceful. The ghost of Emily's perfume had finally faded from the sheets. Her fake laughter no longer echoed in the halls. I opened the closet and stared at the empty half where her clothes used to be. It didn't hurt like I thought it would. It felt like space. Like breathing room. Like I was finally reclaiming something that had been slowly stolen from me. But just as I started settling into that calm, chaos came knocking again, literally. It was Frank, her dad. He stood on my porch like nothing had happened, in a windbreaker and those same loafers he wore the night he smirked while I got tossed from that restaurant. I didn't say a word, just crossed my arms. He sighed. Jake, listen. Things got a little out of hand. Out of hand. I said. Your daughter cheated on me. Lied to me. You stood there while I paid your dinner tab and let your wife kick me out like a dog. I know, he said, looking down. I was just trying to keep the peace. You kept her peace, I snapped. Not mine. She's in bad shape, he said. Emily. Crying every night. She thought Trey loved her. Turns out he's already seeing someone else. I didn't feel anything. No satisfaction. No pity. Just empty. She made her choices. She wants to talk, he said. Face to face. I shook my head. Not happening. But I was lying to myself, mostly. Because curiosity is a cruel thing. Later that night, I stood in the shower, water scalding hot, and imagined what she'd say. What lies she'd spin. What tears she'd fake. I wanted closure. But deep down, I already knew she'd only open her mouth to twist the knife again. The next day, I got an email. No subject line. Just one sentence. Please meet me at the old pier at 7 p.m. No games. Just truth. I stared at the screen. For 20 minutes. Then I shut the laptop. But at 6:45, I was already in my truck, headed to the pier. When I got there, the sun was melting behind the water, casting everything in gold and shadows. Emily stood alone, hands in her coat pockets, face pale. No makeup. No smile. Jake, she said. I stayed silent. I messed up, she began. I know nothing I say matters to you now, but I wanted you to hear it. She paused, waited for me to speak. I didn't. Trey was exciting. That's it. It wasn't love. It was an escape. You were always so focused. So perfect. I felt invisible. I clenched my jaw. So you made yourself visible in someone else's bed. She flinched. I deserve that. You deserved worse. I know. The waves behind her crashed hard against the rocks. I watched them, let the silence settle again. Then I said, you humiliated me. In public. In private. You dragged your family into it. You tried to break me. I thought you'd never leave, she whispered. You were too loyal. That right there, it gutted me more than any lie. She counted on me being loyal. Used it against me like a weapon. My love wasn't ignored. It was exploited. I'm not coming back, I said. She nodded. I'm not asking you to. Good. I turned to leave. She called out, do you hate me? I stopped but didn't turn around. I don't hate you, I said. I just see you now. Back in my truck, I felt something loosen in my chest. Not forgiveness, just release. I didn't need an apology. I didn't need answers. I just needed to stop carrying her sins like they were mine. And that's exactly what I did. 2 days after the pier, I got a message from Claire, Emily's sister. I almost deleted it without reading. Anything from her side of the family felt like poison, but something made me open it. You need to come by Mom's place. It's important. It's about the house. At first, I thought it was another stunt, another manipulation. But I remembered that Emily's name was never on the deed. The house was mine before we got married. She moved in, decorated it, made it hers, but legally, it was always mine. Still, something felt off. I decided to go. If there was one thing I'd learned from this whole disaster, it was to stop letting people operate in the shadows. I needed to see what game they were playing. Barbara opened the door like I was the one who wronged her. Her lips were tight, her eyes judging me like always. Jake, she said, like my name tasted bad. Claire stood behind her, arms crossed, trying to look innocent. I stepped inside. What's this about? Barbara wasted no time. Emily's mental health has taken a serious hit. She's seeing a therapist, and she needs a stable environment. She wants to move back into the house. I blinked. You're kidding. She needs closure. Familiar space. She needs boundaries, I said. Claire jumped in. You're making this harder than it has to be. I stared at them, the gall on their faces, the absolute lack of shame. You want me to let the woman who publicly humiliated me, cheated on me, and tried to ruin me back into my house? Barbara's tone sharpened. She's your wife. Not anymore. And that house? It's mine. Barbara narrowed her eyes. You'll regret this. No, I said. I regret not seeing through all of you sooner. As I turned to leave, Claire said, You're not who I thought you were. I stopped at the door. Neither is Emily. But at least I didn't have to sleep around to figure that out. Back in my truck, I finally laughed. Not from joy, more like shock. These people didn't want healing. They wanted control. Emily thought her crocodile tears at the pier would soften me up. This was all a coordinated play, and I almost fell for it again. I drove straight to the county clerk's office the next morning and filed for divorce. My lawyer expedited everything. I handed over the file of evidence, emails, call logs, timestamps, financial records. He read it with a smirk and said, She's going to try to play the victim. Don't let her. I didn't plan to. That night, I sat down and wrote a letter. Not to Emily. Not to her family. To myself. I wrote down everything I gave her. Everything I lost. And then everything I was taking back. I promised myself I wouldn't respond to her anymore. No texts. No calls. No meetings. I was done bleeding for someone who handed the knife to someone else. A few days later, I heard from Zach again. You good? I nodded. Better than good. Want to go out? For what? He grinned. For you. That night, I went out for the first time in months. No expectations. No agenda. Just to exist. There were laughs. Beers. A live band that actually knew how to play. It felt like coming up for air after being underwater too long. At the bar, a woman smiled at me. Blonde. Confident. Her eyes kind. Not calculating. I smiled back. For the first time, not out of loneliness, but choice. She came over. We talked. Her name was Rachel. She asked what I did. Just got divorced, I said. Professionally. Personally, I'm still figuring that out. She laughed. Honest. I like that. We didn't exchange numbers. Didn't make promises. It wasn't about that. It was about remembering I still had a life. That Emily didn't get to keep it when she walked away. She left her mess behind. But I wasn't the one who had to live in it. A week passed without a single message from Emily. No emails. No texts. Just a deafening silence that almost felt like peace. I'd expected drama, late-night calls, tears, some desperate attempt to reel me back in. But nothing came. Until it did. It was a Friday. I was at the bank, finalizing the transfer of my remaining shared accounts into a new one under just my name. A clean slate. The banker handed me the final document to sign, and right as I clicked the pin open, my phone buzzed. Blocked number. I shouldn't have answered, but instinct got the better of me. Jake. It's me. Her voice was quiet. Controlled. Too controlled. What do you want? I need to talk to you. Please. Just hear me out. I exhaled. Hard. Emily, we've done this already. No. You talked. I listened. Now I need to explain things you don't know. I didn't want to care. But the tone in her voice wasn't her usual manipulative sweetness. It was nervous. Anxious. And that's when it hit me. She wasn't trying to get me back. She was scared. 5 minutes, I said. We met in a public park. Wide open, daylight, people all around. I wasn't giving her the chance to twist anything behind closed doors. She arrived in sunglasses, hair tied up, hoodie pulled over her head like she was dodging paparazzi. She sat down across from me on the bench and didn't speak for a full minute. Just fidgeted. What's this about? I asked. Trey's not who I thought he was. I tilted my head. Let me guess. He's not a fan of long-term commitment? No, she said. He's dangerous. I laughed. Loud enough for a few people nearby to glance over. Dangerous? Emily, he sells crypto scams and probably still lives with his mother. She leaned in. He took pictures. Of me. Without asking. Videos, too. My jaw tightened. You're telling me you're the victim now? I'm telling you I didn't know. I thought it was just fun. But he's threatening to leak things if I don't give him money. A lot of money. I stared at her, completely still. Why are you telling me this? Because he mentioned you. He said if I didn't pay up, he'd send things to your job. Your friends. He's crazy, Jake. I studied her face. She looked exhausted. The makeup was gone. The smug smile gone too. Just a hollow version of the woman I once married. And you thought I'd help you? I thought you should know, she muttered. You're still connected to this mess because of me. I stood up. No, I'm not connected. Not anymore. Please, she said. I'm scared. I warned you, I said. You don't get to blow up my life and then ask me to help you pick up the shrapnel. You picked Trey. You can keep him. I walked away before she could answer. She didn't follow. But something about the way she said his name stuck with me. Trey. Dangerous. Back home, I checked my old email, one I hadn't used in months. There it was. A message from an unfamiliar address with an attachment labeled, yourwife.mp4. I didn't open it. I didn't need to see it. I forwarded it straight to my lawyer. 2 hours later, I had a restraining order filed. Against both of them. I don't know what Emily expected when she left me for a shiny toy. But what she got was a predator. A manipulator who saw her the same way she once saw me, as a pawn. And I wasn't going to be collateral damage in that story. That night, I sat on the porch, a glass of bourbon in my hand, watching the stars blink into the sky. Zach called, asked how I was holding up. I think I'm finally getting my life back, I said. He laughed. Took a war to get there. Yeah, I said, sipping slow. But I won. 3 months later, the divorce was finalized. I didn't show up for the hearing. My lawyer handled everything. Emily sat there alone, according to him. No family behind her. No Trey. Just her, fidgeting with that same cold silence she used to weaponize against me. I got the house. Kept every asset I walked in with. And the court denied her spousal support after seeing the emails, the affair timeline, and her little vacations. Justice didn't feel like revenge. It felt like balance. The final paperwork came in a plain envelope. No drama. Just a stamp and my name without hers next to it. I held it in my hands for a long time. 8 years gone, and it came down to 3 sheets of paper and a signature. I didn't cry. Didn't celebrate either. I just breathed. That night, I walked through the house with a trash bag and started clearing it of anything she ever touched. Her scented candles, old scarves, photos, notes. Even the mug that said Mrs. Harrison went straight into the bin. It wasn't cleansing. It wasn't symbolic. It was necessary. 2 days later, Barbara texted me. I just want you to know we didn't raise her to be like this. I didn't reply. You didn't stop her either. I got back to my life. Slowly. I went back to the gym. Picked up guitar again. Joined a hiking group. Not to meet women. Just to feel alive in my own skin again. People started noticing the change. You look lighter, Zach told me one day. I am, I said. Turns out betrayal makes a pretty effective weight loss program. He laughed, then went quiet. You regret any of it? I thought for a long second. No, because it showed me what I'll never settle for again. There's power in that. Power in surviving what tried to hollow you out. A month later, I ran into Rachel, the woman from the bar. She smiled when she saw me. Still figuring it out? I grinned. Less figuring. More living. We talked for hours. Laughed. Walked down the pier where Emily once begged me to listen. But this time, there were no ghosts behind me. Just the sound of water, fresh air, and the kind of peace you can't fake. We didn't make plans. We just existed. That was enough. Here's what I learned through it all, if anyone's listening. If someone cheats, they're not just betraying your body. They're burning your time, your faith, your future. Don't stay out of fear. Don't stay out of pride. Walk away with your dignity, even if it's in pieces. Because the right people, they don't make you beg for respect. And love? Real love doesn't hide in hotel rooms and delete messages when you walk in the room. Real love stands beside you, not behind your back. And if you've got nothing else left, start there. With your back straight. And your heart still beating. That's more than enough to rebuild everything. And trust me. The silence after betrayal? It's where you'll finally hear yourself again. I was 30,000 feet above ground, somewhere over the Atlantic, sipping overpriced whiskey in a business class seat, when my phone buzzed with a message that made my chest collapse inward. Hey, babe. I just wanted to let you know I sold the farmhouse. Got $2 million for it. Spent it all on Jordan's new startup. He needed it more than you. Don't freak out. We'll talk later. I read it 3 times, and it still didn't make sense. My farmhouse? The one I inherited from my grandfather? The one valued at over $20 million? My wife, Haley, just gave it away for pocket change and funneled the money into her boyfriend's business? Boyfriend? I blinked. My heart didn't know whether to rage, panic, or collapse from shock. I reached for my bag, already waving over the flight attendant before the realization even settled in. Turn this plane around, I muttered. They didn't, of course. But we landed 4 hours later. And the moment I touched down in New York, I didn't go home, didn't call friends, didn't even change my shirt. I took the first car I could find and sped straight to the farmhouse. I needed to see it. Needed to confirm whether the insanity was real. But here's the thing. When I got there, I couldn't stop laughing. The gates were open. The lawn overgrown. The house? Still standing. Still mine. Still untouched. Because Haley had forgotten one crucial detail. She sold the wrong farmhouse. Let me rewind for a second. We owned multiple properties, but the farmhouse, the real one, was in my name only. My grandfather's will was airtight. But years ago, I'd purchased a similar plot down the road as a decoy for tax purposes. It looked identical, minus the antique furniture, land rights, and heritage value. That was the one titled under both our names. And that was the one Haley had sold. To Jordan, her boyfriend. A 29-year-old entrepreneur with bleached teeth and a fake Rolex. They thought they got away with it. She probably imagined me crying somewhere on a yacht, too busy being rich to care. But no, now I was standing in the real house, looking around, realizing she had no clue. I should have been furious. But in that moment, all I could do was grin like a lunatic. Because now, it was my move. I walked through the old hallways, each creaky floorboard whispering memories of my grandfather. That's when the weight hit me, not of what she tried to steal, but who she had become, who I had been blind to. And suddenly, all the late-night calls she'd take outside, all the girls' trips that ended with smeared lipstick and silence, all the cold stares during dinner, they made sense. I'd ignored the signs, convinced myself we were just going through a phase. But no, she was a monster in designer heels. I sat down on the vintage leather couch in the study, the same spot I used to read letters from my grandfather. I opened my phone and pulled up our shared bank statements. Empty. Savings? Gone. Investment accounts? Liquidated. Even the safe in my downtown office? Wiped. She'd been planning this, slowly draining everything, while I smiled through dinner, while I kissed her goodnight, while I made her coffee in the mornings. I called my lawyer, Dean, told him to put everything we had on lockdown. Then I called Blake, my oldest friend, and told him the real farmhouse was intact, but the war had begun. As I drove toward our Manhattan penthouse, I ran every memory through my head like crime scene footage. Her moans in the shower when she thought I wasn't home. The cologne that wasn't mine on her scarf. Her sudden love for morning runs. All of it, her lies. And Jordan? The idiot boy toy she emptied our fortune for? He was about to learn a lesson they don't teach in business school. Don't steal from a man who builds empires. When I arrived, the doorman gave me a nervous nod. I didn't speak, just rode the elevator in silence. The second the doors opened on our floor, I heard them laughing. Haley's voice, sharp, fake, shrill, and Jordan's stoner giggle. I walked in. She was sitting on the couch in my hoodie, sipping champagne with her bare legs draped over Jordan like a trophy. She turned her head lazily when she saw me. "Oh, you're back early." Like I was a stray dog that wandered in. Like I didn't just find out she sold my legacy for $2 million of betrayal. "Where's the money?" I asked. She smirked. "Gone. Jordan needed it. He's building an app." Jordan threw me a peace sign. "It's gonna change the world, bro." I looked at him like he was a stain. Then I looked at her. The woman I once married. The woman who once cried in my arms and told me I was her safe place. "You gave him $20 million. She shrugged. "What? You wanted me to ask your permission. You were never around. You were too busy playing rich." I blinked. Once. Then said, "That wasn't the farmhouse." She frowned. "What? You sold the wrong house, Haley?" Her face twisted in confusion. Then panic. Then rage. Jordan leaned forward. "Wait, what does that mean?" I smiled. "It means," I said, stepping inside and shutting the door behind me, "you both just committed fraud. And now, I get to decide what happens next." She stood up fast, knocking over the champagne flute. It shattered on the marble floor, but no one flinched. Her mouth opened, then closed, like she was trying to form a sentence but couldn't pick which lie to go with first. "You're lying," she said finally. "You're just trying to scare us." I took out my phone, opened the property documents, and tossed it on the couch. "Read it." Jordan picked it up before she could. His face turned pale. It's not under your name," he stuttered. "Wait, but Haley, you said." "Shut up, Jordan," she barked, snatching the phone from him. Her eyes scanned the screen, darting back and forth, and I saw the exact second it clicked. She F*** get up. The silence in the room was heavy, like wet concrete. Haley's breathing got shallow, and her shoulders began to shake, not from crying. From rage. "You manipulated me," she snapped, stepping toward me. "You planted that house on purpose." "Planted it? You mean bought it and titled it properly? You stole, Haley. You emptied our accounts. You sold property you didn't understand. You handed millions to a boy who can't code his way out of a Google document." Jordan looked like he wanted to disappear. "Good." She paced back and forth, grabbing at her hair. "I did it for us. You don't get it. You've never supported my dreams." "You mean his dreams?" She spun around, eyes wild. "He believes in me." "No. He believes in my bank account. And now it's gone." She lunged at me, finger pointed in my face. "You think you're so smart, always so calm, always handling things. You just sit there with your smug little empire while I rot in that big house alone. You act like I was supposed to be grateful for being a rich man's trophy." "You didn't rot," I said coldly. "You were busy moaning into your phone when I wasn't home." The words landed like a slap. For a second, she didn't say anything. Then she did something insane. She laughed. That cold, hollow, psychotic laugh that didn't belong to the woman I married. "You think this is the worst I've done," she said, eyes locked on mine. "Oh, honey, you have no idea." She pulled out her phone, opened a folder, and tilted it toward me. Videos. Dozens. Labeled. Dated. Bedroom angles I didn't recognize. Her. Him. Them. Different rooms. Different men. My stomach dropped. "You were a ghost, Nick," she whispered. "Always working. Always gone. I stopped loving you years ago. I just didn't tell you because I still needed your money." Jordan stood there, stunned. "Wait, different guys?" She turned to him with that same dead-eyed stare. "Oh, please. You really thought you were the only one?" He looked like he'd been stabbed. "I gave up my crypto gig for you." I almost laughed again. If this weren't the funeral of my marriage, it might have been a comedy show. "You two deserve each other," I said, grabbing my phone off the couch. "But you won't have each other for long." Haley stepped in my way. "You're not going anywhere." I met her gaze without flinching. "Actually, I am. But not before I make one phone call." She backed up slightly. "Nick, let's be adults about this. No need to involve anyone else. We can work this out. You want money? I'll find more." I dialed. "Dean." "Yeah, it's worse than we thought. Push the fraud report. Now. I want both of them investigated. Wire transfers, property theft, all of it. Oh, and freeze her cards. Immediately." Haley lunged for the phone, but I stepped aside. "You bastard," she shouted. "You think you're some victim? You're not. You're just a loser in a suit who got played." I looked her dead in the eyes. "No, I'm a man who gave you everything. And you traded it for some guy with a fake Rolex and a pitch deck." She screamed and threw the wine bottle across the room. It shattered against the wall. Jordan finally spoke again. "So, what happens to me?" I stared at him for a long second. "I suggest you get out of the country. Now, before the lawsuits hit." He didn't argue. Just grabbed his coat and bolted for the door. I turned to Haley. "I'll let the lawyers deal with you." "You don't scare me," she hissed. "No," I said, "but the IRS might." And with that, I walked out. The door slammed behind me. My hands were shaking, my chest tight, my heart still in pieces. But one thing was clear. This wasn't over. This was just the beginning. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my office downtown, surrounded by the last pieces of my life that Haley hadn't torched. The old photo of us on the Amalfi Coast stared back at me from the shelf, her wide smile, my arm around her waist. I picked it up and hurled it into the wall. Glass shattered. My heart didn't flinch. By morning, Dean had already frozen the accounts Haley hadn't drained. I sent him every bit of evidence I had, screenshots of her texts, records of the transfers, even the audio from our confrontation. Jordan's dumb voice saying, "I gave up my crypto gig for you," would now be the soundtrack to a fraud case. But even with the legal machine in motion, I wasn't done. I needed answers. I drove to the property office where the sale had gone through. The receptionist looked confused when I asked about the transaction. Then she recognized my name. "Oh, you're the original owner," she said. I nodded. She handed me a folder. "Your wife handled the entire process. Quick sale, off market. No inspections." She said it was urgent. Very charming woman. Charming, I repeated. "Yeah, that's one word." Inside the file was the buyer's name, Jordan, of course, and his listed business address, a WeWork suite in Brooklyn. I got back in the car. By the time I reached the co-working space, I already knew what I was going to do. Jordan wasn't there. His office was empty, rented furniture, whiteboard full of buzzwords, a sad little espresso machine in the corner. A woman at the front desk confirmed my suspicion. "He hasn't shown up in over a week," she said. "Told us he was about to get a major investment and then ghosted." Of course he did. He took the money and ran. What neither of them realized was that I had resources. Real ones. I had hired private investigators to track corporate fraud before. This time, it was personal. By noon, I had Jordan's full profile. His real name wasn't even Jordan. It was Kyle, and he had 3 failed businesses, a suspended driver's license, and a sealed arrest record for assault in Miami. I sent the whole dossier to Dean. Then, just as I was about to leave, my phone buzzed again. Blocked number. I answered. "Nick." It was Haley. Her voice was low, no longer arrogant. She sounded scared. I didn't know, okay? I didn't know he wasn't who he said he was. I made a mistake." I didn't answer. "Please. We need to talk." I kept driving. She sent a dozen messages over the next hour. The last one was a video. I hesitated before playing it. It was her, crying, standing in front of the fake farmhouse. "My life is falling apart. Jordan's gone. He took the money. I have nothing." Then she looked into the camera with those same crocodile eyes she used when she used to fake apologies after her late night work calls. "You were right. About everything." I shut it off. This wasn't regret. This was fear. She wasn't sorry she was cornered. That night, I got a call from Dean. "You need to see this." He emailed me a video link. Surveillance footage. From a hotel suite in Soho. Dated 3 weeks ago. Haley. With Jordan. But not just them. Another man. Then another. One after another. Different nights. Different rooms. All on record. I watched in stunned silence. This wasn't a fling. This was routine. She didn't just cheat. She lived in betrayal. Dean's voice came over the speaker. "She's been using burner phones. We traced one back to a dating site, premium membership under your Amex." I swallowed the rising bile in my throat. There's a kind of pain that burns so cold, it doesn't even feel like pain anymore. Just emptiness. Just silence. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, hands folded, watching the woman I once loved unravel on screen, piece by piece. The next morning, I filed for divorce. No warning. No messages. No explanations. She received the documents while she was at her sister's. She called me 37 times that day. I didn't pick up. She left a voicemail. You think you're punishing me? I'll ruin you, Nick. You're not the only one who knows how to play this game. I listened once, then deleted it. Let her try. Because now I wasn't holding back. 2 days later, she showed up at my office. No appointment. No warning. Just barged in like she still owned the place, wearing a fake smile and tight black dress like it was armor. My assistant tried to stop her, but Haley pushed past, heels clicking like gunshots across the floor. Nick, she said, voice syrupy. We need to talk. I didn't even look up from my laptop. Get out. She sat anyway, legs crossed, confidence unraveling under the weight of my silence. You're blowing this out of proportion, she said, leaning forward. Okay. I made some mistakes, but we can fix it. I'll get the money back. You're broke, I replied without emotion. You couldn't buy a coffee right now unless someone else paid. She flinched, then recovered. You're just being cruel now. You stole from me, Haley. Lied. Slept around. Multiple times. With strangers, with Jordan, with, hell, who even knows how many. And you think I'm being cruel? She tried to laugh. It came out cracked and hollow. You were never around, Nick. You made me feel invisible. That's funny. You seemed pretty visible in those hotel videos. She froze. Her lips parted slightly. She hadn't known I had the footage. I stood up slowly, walking around the desk until I stood inches from her. I watched you. Over and over. With every man. Every trick. Every fake moan. You were an actress on a stage you thought no one could see. She turned away, unable to meet my eyes. You weren't supposed to it. I wasn't supposed to find out? That's your defense? She didn't answer. My phone buzzed. Dean again. I have something you'll want to hear, he said. Jordan's, or Kyle's, credit card just got pinged into Loom. He's holed up at a beachside villa under a fake name. Of course he was. Haley was still sitting there, now wiping fake tears from her cheeks, like that would change anything. I hung up the phone and turned to her. You know what the worst part is? I said. She looked up, mascara smudged. What? I really loved you. She blinked, and for a second, maybe, just maybe, something real cracked through that shell. Then it was gone. She stood, adjusting her dress. Fine, if that's how you want it. But don't think I'm going down without a fight. Oh, I'm counting on it, I said. Makes the win so much sweeter. She stormed out. But I wasn't done. I called Dean back. Send someone to Tulum. Quietly. I want eyes on him. Already done, he replied. And there's more. Looks like Jordan's company was never registered. The money she gave him? It's gone. Probably funneled into crypto and luxury crap. But here's the kicker, she signed the sale with forged notary stamps. That's jail time. I leaned back in my chair, letting the words sink in. For the first time in days, I smiled. This wasn't just revenge anymore. This was justice. By the next morning, I had surveillance images of Jordan sipping cocktails with 2 women on a rented yacht. Meanwhile, Haley was on Instagram, posting filtered selfies and pretending her life was still perfect. Some people just don't know when they've lost, Dean said. Let her post, I replied. She'll look great in orange. Then came the breaking point. Haley's sister called me. Out of breath, shaken. She's gone, she said. Packed her things and disappeared. No note. Nothing. That same night, Haley sent me a video. In it, she was crying in the mirror of a hotel bathroom. I didn't mean for any of this to happen, she said. I was stupid, but I didn't think you'd go this far. I thought you loved me. I stared at the screen, emotionless. You thought I loved you? I whispered. No, Haley. I loved the person I thought you were. Not the monster who sold our legacy, gave it to a con man, and laughed in my face when I found out. Not the woman who weaponized my kindness and called it weakness. And not the coward who ran the moment the consequences came knocking. I sent the video to Dean. Let's bury her, I said. And this time, I meant it. The extradition request went out the next day. Dean had pulled every string, loopholed every jurisdiction. Fraud, misrepresentation, wire transfer violations, tax evasion. Haley's name was suddenly glowing red in every system that mattered. And Jordan? Kyle? Whatever alias he was using now. He was officially a target. But none of it gave me peace. Not yet. I still woke up every night at 3 a.m., heart pounding, reaching for someone who wasn't there anymore. Someone who, it turns out, never really was. I replayed it all in my head like some sick highlight reel, her smile when she used to kiss me goodbye, her silence when she crept back in at 2 a.m., the way she moaned someone else's name when I wasn't even out of the driveway yet. There were no answers. Just echoes. Until one morning, I got a knock on the door. It wasn't Dean. wasn't a delivery. It was Jared, my cousin, the only person in my family who still lived nearby, and the last person I expected to see standing on my porch with a face full of fire and a crumpled newspaper in his hand. "You've seen this," he said. He shoved it at me. Page 6. Tabloid junk. But there it was. Billionaire's wife found in Colombian rehab center after allegedly funding boyfriend's failed business with stolen fortune. There was a blurred-out photo, but I'd recognize her anywhere. She looked unhinged. Skin pale. Hair brittle. Eyes distant. "Colombia," I muttered. Jared nodded. "They picked her up after she OD'd in a club. Her passport was flagged. She tried to claim she was trafficked." I said nothing. "She's trying to flip it," he continued. "Playing the victim now. Saying Jordan forced her to do everything. Typical. The woman who burned everything we built now trying to squeeze sympathy from the world by pretending she was just another pawn. But she wasn't. She was the one who made the moves. She signed the deals. She wrote the damn checks." Later that day, my phone rang again. This time, it was the prosecutor's office. "We have enough to move forward," the voice said. "She'll be extradited in the next 72 hours. I stood in front of the farmhouse, the real one, while they told me. The wind carried the scent of wet soil and old pine. My grandfather had planted those trees. He used to say that men who plant roots don't fear storms. I never understood that before, but now I did. 3 days later, she arrived. Handcuffed. Wearing a hoodie that didn't fit and glasses she didn't need. She looked around the airport hangar like she was still hoping someone would bail her out. No one did. Dean and I stood just outside the doors with 2 marshals between us. She saw me. Tried to run to me. Nick, please. I'm sorry, okay." I was scared. The marshals pulled her back. I walked up slowly. Calm. I'd imagined this moment 100 different ways, screaming at her, spitting in her face, turning away without a word. But what I did was far worse. I smiled. And I whispered, "You spent $20 million on your boyfriend's fantasy. Now you'll spend the rest of your life watching mine become real." Her eyes widened. I stepped back, watched as they dragged her away. She screamed all the way down the hallway. And just like that, she was gone. But the story wasn't over yet. Jordan, or Kyle, was still out there, still sipping overpriced drinks on someone else's dime. And I was going to find him. Because some betrayals don't deserve forgiveness. They deserve closure. Finding Jordan was easier than I thought. After the arrest made headlines, he disappeared from social media, wiped his LinkedIn, and ghosted everyone connected to the scam. But he made one mistake. He had a soft spot for luxury. And luxury always leaves a trail. Dean tracked a payment through a boutique credit card tied to a yacht charter off the coast of Ibiza. The reservation name was fake, but the passport used for verification matched one of Jordan's old burner IDs. I sent a wire to a local fixer with a reputation for solving problems that don't go through official channels. 48 hours later, I was on a plane. I landed in Ibiza just before sunset. The sky was orange and red, bleeding into the sea like fire. My fixer, a man named Luis, met me at the dock. "He's at Villa Calma," he said in a thick accent. "Big party tonight. Lots of women. No security. Perfect." We parked a rented Jeep outside the villa. Music pounded from the back terrace, glass walls flashing with neon lights. I stepped out, wearing a clean black shirt and no expression. I wasn't here to talk. I wasn't here to threaten. I was here to end it. Inside, Jordan was laughing with 2 women in bikinis, holding a bottle of champagne like it was a trophy. He didn't see me at first. Not until I stepped into the pool of light near the bar. His eyes caught mine mid-sip. And that was it. Everything froze. The bottle slipped from his hand and shattered on the floor. He tried to play it cool, fake grin pulling at his face. "Nick, buddy, what are you doing here, man?" I didn't respond. The music faded in my head. All I could hear was the thump of my pulse and the images playing in my mind, Haley's message, the sale documents, the videos. My name being dragged through the dirt by a boy who wore knockoff luxury like it meant something. He stepped toward me, palms raised. "Look, I didn't know she was gonna sell the house. I thought she owned it. I swear, man, I thought everything was legit." Still, I said nothing. One of the girls whispered something and grabbed her purse. They both slipped out, sensing the shift in the air. Jordan licked his lips, sweating now. You want money? I don't have all of it, but I can get some back. Just give me a few weeks." I took a slow step forward. He backed up. Okay, listen," he said, voice cracking. "She lied to me too. You think I knew she was married at first? She told me you were some abusive control freak. I was just trying to help her escape. I lunged, grabbed him by the shirt, and slammed him against the wall. The force rattled a painting off its hook. He whimpered. Escape. I growled. You were using her. You drained her. She was stupid enough to give it to you. But you took it knowing damn well what it was. I didn't know she'd go that far. You didn't care. He shook his head frantically. Please, man. I didn't sign anything. I didn't steal it. She gave it to me. I leaned in close. That's the only reason you're still breathing. He slumped, tears welling in his eyes. You're not walking away from this, I said. You're going to sign over everything you bought with my money. Every car. Every fake company. Every damn crypto wallet. Or I swear to God I'll make sure you rot beside her. He nodded quickly, desperate. Yes, okay. I'll give it all back. Louise stepped into the room, holding a tablet with documents already pulled up. Jordan's face twisted in confusion as I handed it over. You really had this ready? I came prepared, I said. Unlike you. He signed everything. Every asset. Every account. Every fake LLC. And when he was done, I stared at the signature, his pathetic scribble, trembling like the coward he was. Don't ever come near me again, I said, turning to leave. If I even hear your name in a whisper, I won't be this merciful. He dropped to the floor, shaking. Louise followed me out. I assume you won't press charges, he asked quietly. No, I said. Let him live with what he lost. I flew home the next morning. The farmhouse was still there. Peaceful. Quiet. I walked out to the back field where the old oak tree still stood, just like when I was a kid. And for the first time in months, I let myself breathe. Everything she tried to destroy, everything he thought he could steal, it was still mine. Not just the land. My name. My peace. My future. I'd survived the betrayal. But more importantly, I came out stronger. A month passed. The storm had settled, but the aftermath still clung to my bones. I was rebuilding, not just financially, but something deeper. Something in my chest that had been cracked open and exposed. The pain wasn't gone. It just changed shape. Quieter now, but never far. The farmhouse became my refuge. No more suits. No boardrooms. Just me, the land, and silence that no longer felt hollow. Until the letter came. It wasn't from a lawyer or the court. It was from Haley. Handwritten. Mailed from the county jail. The envelope was thick. The handwriting. Still that same looping, elegant scrawl. Like the lies she used to tell, wrapped in pretty packaging. I stood at the kitchen counter, the letter unopened in my hand for 10 minutes straight. My thumb hovered over the flap, then finally ripped it open. It read, Nick, I know you won't believe me. You probably shouldn't. But I didn't write this to beg or manipulate. I wrote this because I owe you something I never gave you before. The truth. I nearly threw it out right there. But I kept reading. I loved you once. A long time ago. You were safe. Steady. Too steady. I started to feel invisible. You were building a life for us, but I felt like a ghost inside of it. I didn't know how to talk to you. So I started talking to someone else. Then another. And another. It became easier to lie than to face the reality that I was turning into someone I hated. When I met Jordan, I thought he saw me, but he didn't. He saw a bank account and a woman stupid enough to give him everything. And I was stupid. I betrayed the only person who ever really tried to love me. I sold the wrong house, Nick. But it turns out I was always living in the wrong story. I'm sorry. Not for what it cost you, but for what I cost myself. I won't write again. Haley. I stared at the paper. I expected anger. I expected sarcasm, manipulation, another pathetic twist. But it felt empty. Not sincere. Not fake. Just the final note in a song that should have ended long ago. I folded the letter and slid it back into the envelope. Didn't burn it. Didn't toss it. I buried it under the floorboards in the study. Let it rot there with the rest of the lies. That night, I sat under the stars behind the farmhouse. The breeze moved slow across the fields, brushing over the wheat like a hand over skin. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I smiled. I wasn't broken anymore. I wasn't angry. I was just free. And that's when I saw her again, not Haley. Not any ghost of the past. Claire. The vet who helped with the horses last spring. The one with the quiet laugh and the eyes that never tried to hide. She waved as she walked up the driveway. Casual. Warm. You're still out here, she said. I'm always out here now. She smiled. Good. The world out there sucks anyway. We sat under the stars for hours, talking about nothing. And in that nothing, I found everything I'd been missing. Not passion, not chaos, just peace. Because some stories don't end with fire and fury. Some end with silence and new beginnings. This wasn't a story about revenge anymore. It was a story about survival. And the man I became after the lies. The man I always should have been. Weeks passed, and I didn't hear from Haley again. Not a call, not a letter, not a whisper. She disappeared into the system, exactly where she belonged. And I didn't check up on her, not once. Whatever happened to her from that point forward wasn't my burden to carry anymore. She chose her path. And I chose mine. Jordan's assets were seized. What little was left got funneled back into my accounts through legal channels. But the money? It wasn't the point anymore. It never was. The real theft wasn't the dollars, it was the years, the trust, the belief that I was building something with someone who was only ever looking for a way out. But she didn't get out. I did. And that made all the difference. One morning, I walked the border of the farmland, boots caked in mud, sun rising low and red across the hills. It hit me then, this was mine. Not just the property, the quiet, the strength, the scars, all of it. Every betrayal, every lie, every sleepless night, it carved something into me. And where the wounds had once been open and raw, they were now calloused. Tougher, smarter. Still me, just stronger. Claire started coming by more often. No rush, no pressure, no promises. Just two people talking under the stars, sharing coffee at sunrise, feeding the horses together in the chill of morning. She didn't ask about Haley. She didn't have to. I think she saw in my eyes that the chapter was over. Burned. Buried. Done. One night, as we watched a thunderstorm roll over the ridge, she looked at me and said, "You ever think about starting over?" I nodded slowly. "Every day." She smiled. "Then maybe don't do it alone." I didn't respond. Just reached over and took her hand. It was warm. Real. And it didn't tremble like Haley's had. I thought about everything, about how I nearly lost myself trying to save someone who was already gone. How I let love blind me to the poison it had become. And how it took everything crashing down to finally see the truth. If you're reading this, if you're sitting in silence, confused, broken, blindsided by the person who once swore they loved you, listen to me. You'll survive. You won't feel like it at first. You'll question everything. You'll replay every moment, looking for where it all went wrong. You'll blame yourself. And you'll want to burn the world down. But then one morning, you'll wake up. And there'll be a quiet that doesn't hurt. A moment where you don't think about them. A breath that doesn't carry their name. That's where it begins. That's when you rebuild. Not to prove anything. Not for revenge. But for you. Because peace doesn't come from punishing those who wronged you. It comes from remembering who you are. And never letting anyone take that from you again.